Do you ever wish you could go back to your original factory settings, to a mind that wasn't cluttered by fear or worry or self doubt? Welcome to the Powerful Introvert Podcast. It's a podcast helping introverted leaders embrace your underrated quiet strengths to get promoted and start earning what you deserve. I'm Greg Weinger. I have over 25 years of leadership experience, and yes, I am an introvert. Today, I'm talking with Richie Kyriacou. He's a mindset coach and founder of Reset with Richie. In this episode, Richie shares his journey with brutal honesty. He goes from a high-performing financial services leader to confronting his alcohol addiction, only to walk away from the corporate path and build a life that actually fits who he is. You're going to discover, number one, how breathwork can help you unwind the spiral of anxiety, worry, and self-doubt right in the moment. Number two, powerful mindset shifts that quiet people need to lead with confidence. Number three, why self-acceptance is the real hard reset, and that can make you almost indestructible. This conversation, as a warning, does touch on some suicidal thoughts. I found it incredibly powerful, and I hope you find it inspiring. Let's dive in. Richie, a real pleasure to have you here today.
Yeah, it's great to be here, Greg. Been looking forward to this one.
Yeah, absolutely. So we spoke a couple months ago and talked about an episode and had a fantastic conversation. I feel like we really connected immediately, and I hope you felt
Yeah,
so as well.
it was
No
mutual.
pressure here, but I connected to you because you seem to me to be the real deal. And what I mean by that is I have done a lot of personal transformational work, and I had a coach, and he gave me a set of tools that literally transformed my life. So you talked to my wife, my children, people who know me best. My personality has shifted, and I am a much less anxious person. I just have a lot of calm in situations, crisis situations, things that you might classify as that. And I just approach them a different way, and I show up really differently at work. And one of the cores to that was it's really the type of work that you do with your clients. So I want to get into this today, and I really want people to understand that the type of work you do creates a fundamental shift in your life, and it gives you a different perspective so that you just look at situations differently. It's perspective and tools to actually deal with those situations differently. So that's a big preamble, and no pressure with all this, but let's get into this because I'm so happy to have you here and share about this and tell people more about what you do.
Thanks, Greg. And thank you for being a great advocate for coaching. It's obviously worked for you. It takes you to be willing to show up and do that work, and it's not easy, especially in the beginning, as I'm sure you would have found out, but the rewards are, as you say, transformational. And yes, in your work, calm, you mentioned there, but also with your family. That stuff's priceless, isn't it? It's priceless. And I've experienced that and witnessed it firsthand with some of my clients too. They tell me stories about how they're calm and speaking up more in meetings, for example, but then they share a story about something with their family. For example, one client recently, how his son would do things to rattle him and he might lose it a bit, get a bit angry, feel that frustration to a point where he's calm. It just washes over him now. It doesn't bother him. Instead of telling him to go to sleep and shouting him to go to sleep, it's like he'll sing him a song instead from a place of calm and love and peace. And that's the stuff that lights me up mostly. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting into this conversation with you, Greg. Can't wait. Let's go.
Yeah. All right. So let's start. I want to talk a little bit about you and your background. And this is the Powerful Introvert Podcast. And I believe you're a powerful introvert yourself. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about that. How did you come to realize that?
I would say the realization, well, is more first I heard the word probably in my early 20s. And I guess I was a bit ignorant, arrogant in a way. I just presumed introverted meant you were a loner, bit of a weirdo. And I went off on my way until in my later 20s when I started to address certain aspects of myself, which I'll get into later. And this word came back again, introverted, being an introvert. I started to look in it and I resonated with it a lot. Some of the traits. Yeah, I get my energy from being in solitude. Being in big crowds especially can drain me a lot. But when I reflect, and especially, God, in corporate days, in those meetings, it was head down very much so, keeping quiet, working hard, not putting myself out there, not speaking up in meetings. But when I reflect more, and as we do, we reflect, I guess, like over a whole life, and without trying to over-intellectualize it, I don't think I was born introverted. I remember speaking to my dad, and he was saying, I don't remember you as a really small kid. You were very much social, active, always outgoing, and want to be amongst it. So I reckon I started to go inside of myself through certain, I guess, small t traumas, which affected the conditioning. It was the environment, very much so influenced me to go with inside myself. For example, early childhood, the effects of moving from one country to another country, and then again within the same country, it was very much made known to me that I didn't fit in, didn't belong, not accepted, especially in the likes of boarding school, in high school, in those early teenage years. It was morning, noon, evening, right? That barrage of nasty comments going into my mind, and the way I dealt with it was very much being quiet. I might even laugh it off, but so much anxiety and fear. I was walking around for fear of one of the culprits would come and lay out a nasty comment, right? And this stuff affected me. And I would say their voices became my voices in my head. That became my belief system. I don't fit in, I don't belong. And that followed me throughout my teens, that followed me into my 20s. And I spent all those years, here's the crux of it, I spent all those years running around trying to be accepted by everyone else and never stopping to find acceptance for myself. So I put on that mask, created that persona, that identity to try and fit in. And it served me well. Don't get me wrong, right? It served me well. But it was when I went and did that other inner work, finding that self-acceptance, which, look, at the end of the day, let's call it out here, it all boils down to self-love. And that is a priceless feeling. You get to that place and you don't care what other people think, the opinions of others. It doesn't bother. And you almost become indestructible. Yeah. And that's a journey one has to go on, and it is very much a felt experience. Would I still class myself as introverted? Oh yeah, but just in a different way, in a more comfortable, confident way. Yeah, I still thrive in solitude. I like my alone time, but yeah, I can turn up to social events and find confidence and be comfortable, but I don't want to stay there for too long. It does drain me and I want to get out of there.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, it can be so painful to be in those situations where you don't feel accepted. And it sounds like through your early moves and being in maybe a culture that's slightly different, and you're obviously not accepted in that, those lessons can really go in deep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Literally to the point of they are my voices. And then it's about separating yourself from them, realizing, no, you're not. That's just conditions of the mind. And this is universal, right? We're very much belief system. And when we got problems, issues in our life, sometimes it's easy to just go after the symptoms, treat it with a plaster. But really, if you start looking at some of the belief systems and almost rewiring them, then you can get freedom from them.
Yeah. And I think this is true for everyone. I think, like you said, it's universal. There are certain beliefs, and just the way our human brains evolved, there's this negativity bias. And so we all have we internalize these beliefs, which are unhealthy. And ultimately, these struggles are rooted in a lack of self-acceptance. And, stories are really different. They vary from person to person, but there's that commonality of theme where once you get down to that deepest level, there is some part of yourself, and we have all kinds of crazy parts of ourselves. There's plenty of things that, for a lot of reasons, society says, okay, we got to tamp these things down. Yeah. So we're all not accepting ourselves at different levels. Yeah, it's great that you found your path through that, and this is something you help others with in your work.
Mm.
Let me continue on here. So you really described really beautifully how you developed this mask, and I think that mirrors what a lot of us go through in how to form success in the world. And it sounds like you were quite successful in school and later on into the corporate world. Could you tell a little bit about that part of your career?
So, corporate world in financial services, working in different banks, global banks, big name banks, high pressured. I went in there with a very good work ethic in terms of working hard. Wasn't shy of it, roll up the sleeves, do the dirty work. But again, as I mentioned earlier, that anxiety or fear was with me to really put myself out there. And it ended up being frustration, just not speaking up in meetings there, and stress, taking that home, not sleeping on Sunday nights and things. And speaking of which, on the weekends, my way of coping was to drink. Yeah, I'd go out on a Friday night after work with the guys and girls, and you have a good time. You release a lot of the stress. Do the same on Saturday. Sunday, it's not good. Monday, not good even.
Mhm.
And that was the cycle: work hard, play hard. And probably that late, as I mentioned earlier, that late 20s is when I said, "Oh, here, this something's not right here. I cannot keep going like this. I need to address it." So I started doing things. I started doing meditation. I started doing more of the gym. I actually started therapy as well at that time, late 20s, which helped, wasn't the solution. And other
Mhm.
things as well, just to get a hold of this. But I still drank on weekends. And one weekend specifically, it was just too much. There was this engagement party I went to, and this is a funny story. I can't believe I'm going to share this on a podcast, but I went to an engagement party at a friend's place in the same apartment complex as where I was living, just a different block. And after the party, we're in there, and old fashions were had, whiskey was had, and all I remember, I woke up the next day in my apartment. But my clothes are back in their apartment, so I've obviously taken them off there. Apparently they found them in the wardrobe or cupboard or something. And I've made my way across the apartment complex. This is in the morning stage, I hear, right? So I've made it. The girl I was living with at the time obviously let me in. I went straight to bed. But I had such anxiety that weekend. I was actually checking the news to see if I was reported or something over the whole weekend. Afraid to go out. Went to the doctor Monday, explained the story, prescribed me anti-anxiety tablets. All right, so I went on 10 milligrams of Lexapro at the time. And away I went again. Same cycle. Work hard, party hard. And that was it for years. Until, again, I reached that desperation stage, 2019. I was performing well, right? These things that I was doing, the meditation, the gym, the self-awareness stuff, was helping. I was taking action at work, becoming confident. So the promotions were happening. 2019, I got a big external move, pay rise, but then the party really escalated. Partying escalated. I started then, I'm going to say this, I started introducing cocaine, okay, for that year. And things got really dark. It was like a whole weekend, just no sleep, and then trying to function the next week. And I was a senior leader. I had teams. I was pulling it off, but I was in dangerous territory. All right. And performance reviews are still good. I was just high functioning here, but it was killing me inside. The depression, the anxiety I was left with after these weekends was horrible. 2020, I quit it all. I was drinking, had to go. And I see a lot today out there on socials about people quitting drinking like it's just a nothing. I
Yeah.
quit drinking and I see all these benefits. I feel like that. But for me, the struggle in quitting was huge. There was an identity thing to go through. I had to let go of who I thought I was. I had to grieve that guy, that Richie. That was a huge part of the journey for me. And not only that, get in touch with who I really was. And through that, on the other side of it, of that work, came this deep connection to what I wanted to do, who I wanted to be, all of this. I got clarity. Reset with Richie was born out of this. That whole idea came through that. Purpose was very strong, like extremely. powerful in terms of the calling I got to come away and set this business up that helps other professionals that are struggling with the likes of stress, self-doubt, lost, don't know where they're going, what's next. Because when I was struggling, I was getting help in different places, but not a sustainable solution. And that's the thing that was missing. And that's the thing I thought I had. And I wanted to give it to the world. And I believed in it. So then I left corporate in 2021. I left corporate and set this up and haven't looked back.
That's awesome. There's a lot in there just in terms of dealing with that struggle and that not being your core personality. It's a cover, it's a means of dealing, but the whole world is externally telling you you're making it, you're doing it right, you're getting the promotions, you're fulfilling the ideal that you weren't before. So there's all these rewards for not looking inward and not finding yourself. And that's wonderful. You found a means to that. I want to pick up on one word that you said in there that I think is really key, is sustainable, because so many of the fixes that are out there, it's more like a Band-Aid. You know, it's more like a Band-Aid. It's, I can get through the weekend, or through this emotional crisis, or over this hump. And I think for a lot of people, therapy is that. And so there's a never-ending cycle of layering more and more remedies on. You get a stack of remedies. And this is great. This is my stack of remedies, is getting me through. I got my meditation and my gym class, and then through this, that, and the other thing. But there is something else there. And so this is something that I've experienced, and which is why I've been excited to talk to you about that. There is something else. There's another level. And so it's really, how do you get there? And you're coming, it sounds like you had a real alcohol addiction and some substance addiction, and it's powerful enough to overcome that. And even for someone who doesn't have, maybe they feel they don't have that, there's still a barrier to getting to where you want to get to go. You're still dealing with it. There's walls around you that almost can seem impenetrable. And you might get to a point of wondering, can I ever break through that? So, So tell us about your coaching practice.
Just on your point there before I move across, you're absolutely right. For me, the vice was alcohol. Certainly for someone else, it can be something else or nothing, just their own internal dialogue going on and the stresses that they're feeling. And these symptoms do get masked. And just to point out, right, going to that GP, never met me before and prescribing me an anti-anxiety tablet. Now, I'm not saying to stop do that. Of course, everyone is on their own journey. But that was something that didn't really resonate with me because it also suppressed the going inwards. So when I quit alcohol, it was that process of going inwards, and I weaned off the anti-anxiety medication as well to continue going inwards and really just get brave and honest with who I am and where I'm going, what I want to do, right? That clarity. Okay, I just wanted to put that in there.
And maybe just to stay with this a little bit, that's a very different kind of motion there. Like, one is like, I just want this to go away. And the other is, I'm turning around and going straight toward it. I'm facing this. I'm going to immerse myself in this. And so what helps you do that? What helps you make that kind of shift?
Well, I was scared shitless, let me just say. Yeah, it was a trust. I fully trusted it had to change, and this was the way to do it. I trusted that on the other side, there has to be something that's better than what's going on. And that's a lot of my clients too. People don't just buy coaching because it looks great, it's trendy, you perform better. Most buy coaching because either one, their company has sponsored them to do it, or two, they're at a place in their life they're desperate.
Yeah.
They've tried all the things themselves and it's just not changing, working. So they put their hand up, right? So it's that place of desperation, I guess. And for me, it was that trust element to go head on towards this thing, which was the inner work. Yeah.
And do you have a mentor or a coach that you worked with that you trusted?
I had a few, mentors and coaches, both doing different things with me. Tremendous support at that time of my life. And I think that is, when you're so vulnerable, going through a change like that does take support. There's no ego here. Just reach out. People there willing to offer help. Reach out, get the right person, of course. People around you to just get you there, to just help guide you there. And then once you're there, you can reach your hand back and help others.
Yeah, you almost need to be at that point of desperation, a feeling of desperation, to be able to open yourself up to that trust of something else and someone else to guide you through.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're there. So now you're that person who's available for other people.
I guess so, yeah. And you asked about my coaching business. So it's essentially, I'm working with professionals of all sorts of titles, whether executive, senior leaders, but also business analysts. I've worked with entrepreneurs as well. And they're all human, and they all feel that they're not fulfilling their potential. And when that happens, you're essentially left with these symptoms of like stress and self-doubt, imposter syndrome. So I take them through the coaching program. I take them through a journey of deepening their levels of self-awareness that never ends. There's just layers and layers to that to go through to understand thyself. But you got to be careful, because some do tend to think they are very self-aware, but what they're doing is potentially over-intellectualizing how they think about themselves as opposed to feeling. So it's important to incorporate different tools there to make sure that it's flowing well. And then it's a process of capturing real aha moments or insights, clarity into yourself, into how you see the world. And it's this inner confidence, I would say, not so much a surface confidence, which I know all about from my corporate days, just doing the thing. It's this inner connection. It's coming from that place, and you're quite clear in your decision making and on the path you're on. Yeah, so that's the journey, very short description of it. Basically, starting in one place, journey of self-awareness plus tools into this place of inner confidence, calm, and clarity.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, there's a lot of familiar things here. You have this image of what confidence is. You see it around you, people projecting confidence, and even doing that, knowing that you don't necessarily match the outward show when you're doing that. And yeah, internally, another thing that very much what you described in spades myself is just intellectualizing things. And I spent years journaling and going into my past and just understanding past events. And I have had, I think, pretty great stories, like pretty fairly accurate stories about what transpired and memories and all these things. And I was doing a good job, hopefully not as well anymore, of masking the actual emotions that were underlying them. So you can talk about them and still distance yourself through that intellectualization. And a lot of people that I knew and grew up with were all adept at that kind of thing. So it was very natural to me. It was just what I've always seen. So how do you help people through that sort of thing? How do you help someone pass the intellectualization?
I want to avoid here using the term self-awareness, which is a big chunk of coaching. I have to sit there very intuitively with someone. And if I sense that it is being over-intellectualized, I have to probe. I have to get them to connect. And I'll challenge them. I have called it out before. I'm not shy to call things out if I see them. I'm confident now it lands, and for many it does land. And just having that awareness, as you'll know, starting with this awareness that, hey, I'm over-intellectualizing. I'm not really getting anywhere with this. It's good stories to tell, but it's not helping this feeling. I'm not feeling this calm and peace like the brochure said. So something's got to be reapproached. Now, again, there are different tools. I use meditation as a tool that can help someone also connect internally to what's really going on. Breathwork as well, and the different styles of breathwork can help someone connect. So I guess to answer your question, it's just awareness of the over-intellectualizing and addressing it through just a deeper conversation into the emotions, essentially. Getting into the emotions and understanding the emotions and sitting with the emotions. Not fearing sitting with anxiety or sadness or stress. Yeah. Just last weekend, I was having an introduction call with a potential client. And right at the end of the call, they asked me about, could I give them any tips for presentation they're doing on Monday? And I didn't want to just give out a hack. There's just so many hacks out there. Tools, and some of them are really good. And this is technically a sales call. And I just said, screw it. I'm going to just speak honestly here. And I spoke all about just going really into the emotions, surrendering to them. Just let yourself go to what you're experiencing. Go with it. Because what he was telling me is his mind would be like, I should be feeling different. I shouldn't be feeling anxiety. I shouldn't be feeling this. I'm like, if that's what is, go with it. Because what you resist is going to persist. And he emailed me during the week. He signed up for coaching afterwards as well. That was great, because I was concerned maybe that surrendering talk might have scared him off, but he signed up to coaching, and he emailed me saying the presentation to whatever execs in the US went way better than expected. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah. So you got the sale.
Got the sale. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It strikes me a lot of this stuff, and it's my experience too. This got to be experiential. So you have to somehow guide them to experience that for themselves, and you guide them into that, and then they feel it, and then there's a positive outcome. There's an emotional awareness response, and maybe some awareness arises. It's more of a guide to gaining that experience, and then that experience becomes a reward, and then they come back for more. It sounds like you hit the sweet spot with that prospect there, and he saw enough of it to sign up for more.
You're exactly right there with that experience piece. You're showing your brain that, hey, trying this new way is bringing good results. Let's do this some more.
All right. I think that's a great segue to the most powerful tools that I've experienced, breathwork. That for me was the thing that just unlocked all of this. I'd been doing a lot of this work, and with somebody being guided to go into the emotion, to get into the body and really understand things beyond, the mere intellectual mind. So it's okay, we had this idea, there's more here. And then spending time in a more intensive type of breath work. I will really want to hear how you describe it. But for me, it was like giving me a perspective that I'd never had, and a tool that could slice like a knife through nearly any kind of emotional state that I was going through. And so this to me was like crack. It's a hit of something that it's very obvious, like to me, this is different. This is a key to going beyond that brick wall, the things that were hemming me in. So that's my 1 minute description. Tell me, how did you think about breath work? And then we can talk a little bit about, we did a breath work session.
It's quite something. Eh?
Yeah.
It's hard. I can't put it into words. The descriptions I've given, say, my coaching clients, see if they want to try it, and then they try it, it doesn't match back to the description I gave them. It's quite subjective, firstly. Oh, it's so broad. What style do you want to go with here? Any style of breathwork you want to speak about? Or just breathwork as a whole?
Yeah, maybe as a whole. My experience, you get instructions at counting of breaths. And so just repetitively, 3, 4, 7 breathing, box breathing, these kinds of things very clearly regulate your emotional state. You can experiment with those things, and it gives you some direct control. So to me, that's one level of things. But then there's another style, which I think is more like holotropic, which I've experienced, the term where you're guided into it, and you're guided to kind of abandon yourself to the breathing, and it induces an altered state. So I'm curious how you would talk about these things.
So different styles serving different purposes, as you said, very commonly known now, the in for 4, out for 6, right? Or the 4-7-8, which is it's good one to go to sleep. Actually, a doctor used it to wean his patients off sleeping medication before the 4-7-8. But then you get me into the more intense ones, and you got Stanislav Grof back in the 1970s, psychiatrist. He was working with LSD with his patients. LSD got banned, and he created or recognized this holotropic style of breathing, because he saw his LSD patients, they were breathing in this very unique way, very circular, very fast. accelerated. So when they banned LSD, he started experimenting with this circular breathing with evocative music. And people were, as you said, going into these altered states of consciousness, really healing past trauma, pain, hurts, coming out feeling like healed, really healed. And then others really connecting to inspiration and creativity. That's been a big one for me. I've got a lot of my ideas for business through this breathing technique. You got the likes of Wim Hof then as well. Wim Hof, known as the Iceman. A lot of his work is in cold therapy. He's known for climbing the Himalayas in his shorts in freezing cold temperatures. But he's also brought this breathing technique. He calls it Wim Hof breathing, but it's a modern day version of the ancient Tumo breathing. Tibetan monks would use this to heat their bodies, to dry wet clothes on their shoulder. But this Wim Hof, it's getting quite popular in corporate actually now. I see it as a great tool to practice sitting in stress. So Wim Hof would do rounds of circular breathing. What I mean by rounds, right, there, he could do 20, 30 connected breaths, so no pauses between the inhale and the exhale, right? It's a bit faster and deeper than normal. And he'd hold the breath at the end of each round. But what's happening within your body is you are inducing a physiological stress response. You are secreting adrenaline and cortisol, the stress hormones, into your body. But there is no stress. Your body's feeling the stress. There is no stress. And your mind can stay still in that and practice calm within the physiological stress. So when you're out in your stressful world, and it is a very stressful and busy world today, your mind is almost training for responding better and calmer in stressful situations. So the styles that and I know you came to one of my sessions, the styles I facilitate are very much blended between holotropic and Wim Hof, right? So it's a psychedelic type experiences, right? Because as you said, it is a hot knife, right? It's that if you imagine your subconscious as a big block of butter, I won't say margarine. Apparently margarine is not healthy for you. So let's just say
we don't eat that anymore.
Okay, good. So a big block of real butter, and you got a hot knife, and this is your block of butter is your subconscious. That hot knife goes straight through it and can access those really deep places to release a lot of the blockages, mental, emotional, spiritual blockages that hold people back. Yeah, it's phenomenal. It's a phenomenal. Literally, the word is phenomenal experience. But you mentioned this earlier. You let yourself, I think these were your words, you let yourself go to the breath. So you have to be willing to surrender and let go to it. A willingness. You're not going to be fully surrendering. You're going to come in with a little bit of expectations and doubt and skepticism and things. But it's a willingness to let yourself go to the breath and focus on each breath, and nothing else matters. And after 5-10 minutes, you'll enter those altered states of consciousness where all the magic happens.
Yeah, you have to enter with enough curiosity to really want to see what's going on here, because you hear the testimony, you say, okay, there's something different here to be had, something different to be experienced. And so agree, a willingness. Yeah, I've experienced this in a few different settings now. There's a local yoga studio and fantastic place that's actually called, the name of it is Woo Woo, which is, I love the ironic embrace there. But it's great, a beautiful place, and they have breathwork classes. And it's just amazing to me. We get 8 to 10 people in doing all this. There's all the music, and the energy in the room is incredible, kind of experiencing that. And I sat with you, so you perform these sessions over Zoom. So that's something. Yeah. So this, you also do in person as well, or is it mostly online?
I do corporate in person around Ireland. Online would be anyone from all over the world that's interested. So initially doing one-on-ones, and I'm still doing one-on-ones, which evolved into group sessions then where we meet weekly. That started at the very beginning of this year. As I speak to you now, we're at October in the year, and it's time for me to take a break from the groups. Okay, I'm just going on a bit of a pause, but I'm coming back with more of a cohort style where we're block of weeks, number of participants. We meet for deep breathwork sessions, maybe put in a few different coaching sessions along the way, groups of coaching sessions to really, and this is the thing, many do breathwork, oh, amazing, it's great, for a few days, and then they can fall back into their old habits and patterns again. So it's important to capture the insights that you get from a breathwork and integrate them into your life. Be the person that you connected with in your breathwork session, not revert back to the old. So it's, for me, I believe in what's the term? The sum of the equal parts isn't as great as the whole.
Sum is greater. Yeah, the sum of the parts is greater than,
That one. So that's why I want to combine coaching and breathwork together. Yeah, to make sure that it's a journey of people processing their insights and getting integration plans into their life to basically live how they want to live and have the life they want to have.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I do think the impact is best felt as part of a larger program, a larger set of work that you're doing. Do you offer this as a standalone, a la carte kind of thing, or is it one of several techniques and tools that you're using with one of your clients?
Okay. So when I started Reset with Richie, purely coaching, okay, tools like meditation and some lighter breath works, but certainly not the psychedelic styles.
Yeah.
It was then 2024, I was qualified as a facilitator, as a breathwork therapist to start guiding others, and I offered it to my coaching clients and did one-to-one sessions. I just threw it in there, and they were as surprised at the results, the experience, and then I started offering it as well as weekly group sessions. At the start, I was doing it twice a week. Now, do I offer it as a one-to-one only breathwork? No, I've gotten rid of that. So to work with me, you can either choose coaching only, which some people want, right? They just want the coaching. They're not there. They don't want, they're interested in, feel called to, right? This work, breath work, you almost get a calling to it. So if there's curiosity, yes, but some just want the coaching, then you can choose coaching plus breath work, and it's a deeper journey. We're mixing the two together. So that's the two methods. You can work with me one-to-one coaching or coaching and breathwork, but then I'm going to start doing this group coaching and breathwork program soon, probably starting beginning, 2026, I would say. Yeah.
That's great. So you're on this path now, and I'm curious, what is your relation to fear at this point?
To fear?
Yeah.
I can feel it sometimes. It doesn't affect me, not near as much as before. It's a rare feeling. I'll give you an example. The birth of my son, I was about 2 years into business. Now, this is meant to be the happiest moment of someone's life. And it was. The night of his birth, it was ecstasy. But I was 2 years into business. Jill stopped working a few months before. We'd also bought a house 4 months before that. I was at a stage in my business, I was really in a drought for a month or two, like coming into the birth. I was feeling the pressure, absolutely feeling the pressure. And it was the first time actually in the career of my business that I checked the job website out of fear, anxiety. Running on no sleep as well, that didn't help, right? There's triggers to it. But I learned from that experience again, and maybe another big event happens in my life that brings on a lot of fear and anxiety. But I guess I surrender more now to this belief that what I have to offer is worth serving. It's a good thing. There's going to be people out there that want it. I have faith. It's just going to work out. And I trust that if I show up and keep living how I'm living, in fact, when I quit, to go back to the alcohol, when I quit alcohol, had the idea for the business, things were very uncertain, super uncertain, unknown. I hadn't even proven that I could make money out of coaching before I left corporate. But I believed so much in this. I believed that as long as I don't drink again, it's going to work out. And that has literally been a bit of a mantra for the start, especially the beginning phase of the business. Now, I'm not even concerned with drinking anymore. I'm around People that drink, and I'm not, no cravings, temptations, nothing. That's completely gone. But that was quite a thing for me. I have such belief in that, and that comes back to trusting in how I show up, how I choose to live my life affects everything. My states of being, my ability to manage fear and anxiety, my ability to sit super present with a client in a deep coaching conversation, and my ability to sit present with my son and not be distracted by other things.
Mm-hmm.
Take time to play with him, to be present with my wife speaking to me about things. She might not say that sometimes, but it does, right? It's all about how I live now. So fear, yeah, now and again, it's just tools now that it just doesn't faze me. Yeah.
Yeah. And I like how you drew that back to when you're in that calmer place, that how it impacts everyone around you.
Yeah.
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 It gives
Yeah.
them the space to be themselves more. At least the past 2+ years it's been unfolding. It was like, so now I'm different. And so it impacts the relationship in so many ways. And that now in a lot of ways, people around me, my spouse can be herself. And it's just really cool to see the ripple effects all around you, how changing in that way changes the world around you.
It's beautiful, Greg. They sense that calmness in you, or maybe it's maybe a word beyond calm. Like they get that more inner peace. It's almost it's an energetic transfer in the rooms you're in, and for you to just say it almost influences. It's like it's contagious for someone else to be more of themselves. Unbelievable, beautiful stuff.
Yeah. It's beautiful work that you're doing. I'm so glad you're doing this. Sadly, the time for our recording session is winding down. There's much more I'd love to talk about with you. Maybe I just ask for one thing that you could leave with the audience. And if there's one thing they could take a look at or try on their own, what might you guide them?
Ooh, okay. So it's easy to get caught up in what we don't want. I don't want the stress. I don't want the anxiety for this presentation. Spend a little time. All it takes is a few minutes to get clear about who you want to be. Get really clear on who you want to be. You can visualize that. You can write about it, but feel it. Spend the time to really feel it. And that can be feeling uncomfortable. You're like, this isn't true. But you do that right, and it's probably who you are anyway. It's who you really are anyway. Your authentic self, that's who you really want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, there's going to be difficulties, things in the way of that, right? Limiting beliefs, for example, not good enough and things like that. But just, again, trust, surrender to it. There's a good quote by Joseph Campbell. He says, what's in the way is the way. So the obstacles, blockers, challenges that you're faced with, now lean into them just a little bit more. Get curious about them, right? Because on the other side is this person you really want to be in your life, your family life, your home life, but also at work. And I hope, I know I've been in corporate some years ago now, but I hope, people are leaning more in towards this, be themselves a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Can show up as that without the anxiety and fear. I hope that's the way the world does shift more towards, and be rewarded for that, as you mentioned right at the start of the conversation. Be
Mm-hmm.
rewarded for that.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope for that too. Thanks for that, Richie. This has been so wonderful. I want to give you a chance to share, where can people find out more about you and your work in your coaching practice?
So you can find me, Reset with Richie. Just throw that into Google, Reset with Richie, all one word. You can find more about me and what I offer there. Just click the Work With Me link and you can see the different programs there. LinkedIn, I'm active. I'm actually paused for a moment on LinkedIn. I'm just working behind the scenes on a couple of projects. But once they're in a good state, I'll be back on active posting on LinkedIn, and you can come follow me or just connect with me. Even better. Don't even bother following, just connect. Say hello. Yeah. So those places, you'll have to search Richie Kyriacou, but I'm sure you'll put in the show notes a link or
Absolutely.
spelling.
Yeah. All these links will be in the show notes.
Yeah, good.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks so much for sharing your wisdom, your stories, your vulnerability. It's just been great. Thanks so much.
Brilliant, Greg. Love it. Thank you very much for creating this podcast and putting this out into the world, because what we've just spoken about as two men, as two blokes, I think needs to be out there a bit more. So
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
acknowledge you for that.
Thank you. Okay, let's take a moment to recap what you can take away from this conversation with Richie. First, remember to interrupt the spiral. When anxiety or self-doubt starts looping, having a simple breathwork tool can really bring you back into the present moment and respond instead of just reacting. Number two, confidence doesn't have to look loud. The real shift is learning how to show up with your calmness and clarity of mind in meetings, decisions, and hard conversations. Number three, practice the hard reset of self-acceptance. When you stop chasing acceptance from others and you start building it up in yourself, that inner voice changes and responds with confidence in you. Everything gets lighter. If this episode helped you, here's one clear next step. Subscribe to the Powerful Introvert podcast and don't miss future conversations like this. We give practical tools and real stories to help you lead with quiet confidence. I'm Greg Weinger. Keep leading quietly. See you next time.